Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte is en route to China. It's his second visit this year. Both sides are expected to sign agreements on education, science and technology and economic development. But Mr. Duterte says he will talk to Chinese President Xi Jinping about the flashpoint South China Sea, whether or not it is in the agreed-upon agenda for his visit. Buena Bernal has more.
As Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte embarked on his fifth presidential visit to China and eighth meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Mr. Duterte is expected to speak with Mr. Xi about the Permanent Court of Arbitration's 2016 ruling, largely in favor of the Philippines South China Sea claim. That ruling by the International Arbitral Tribunal also invalidated China's encompassing 9-line claim. A bilateral meeting between the two state leaders is scheduled on Thursday, but some analysts warn that mentioning the ruling will not necessarily alter China's so-called expansionist behavior in the disputed waters, including its deployment of maritime assets on key territories considered to be within the exclusive economic zones of other claimant states such as the Philippines and Vietnam. Mr. Duterte is also expected to speak about the Philippines' constitutional percentage sharing requirement of 60% for the Philippines and 40% for the foreign party in relation to a proposed joint oil and gas exploration between the two countries. A framework agreement on the proposal was signed in November last year. Mr. Duterte is also expected to speak with Mr. Xi about a June 9 incident that saw a Chinese fishing vessel abandon 22 Filipino crewmen after hitting their boat near the reed bank in the South China Sea, an incident that struck a chord with many Filipinos. After that incident, a June 2019 survey by polling body Social Weather Stations showed a negative 24 net trust on China in the country, with 51% of surveyed Filipino respondents saying that they had little trust on the neighboring economic giant. Mr. Duterte is also scheduled to attend a business forum in Beijing, as well as a courtesy call on Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan in Guangzhou. The two high-ranking state officials are also expected to attend a basketball game together later in the evening after their meeting. The Philippines, under Mr. Duterte, has established warmer ties with Beijing, securing billions of trade and loan pledges since 2016. But Mr. Duterte has refused to raise the Permanent Court of Arbitration's ruling before China, saying it is part of his conflict avoidance strategy. It is unclear what prompted Mr. Duterte to decide that the time is ripe to raise the ruling before China. The Philippines Foreign Affairs Department said that this visit by Mr. Duterte to China was upon the invitation of Mr. Xi. Buena Bernal, CNA, Manila.